This is TJ with TechMadeEZ. Welcome to my channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. What we're going to be talking about today is my wife moving to Linux. Now, she uses a touchscreen laptop. She does have a desktop, but she never uses it. She does everything on her laptop. And so the last year or so, we've been talking about her moving to Linux. And it's not that her laptop won't be able to run Windows 11. It can run Windows 11. It does meet all the hardware requirements to run Windows 11. But the problem is with Windows 11, they've even increased the telemetry or the spyware in the operating system even more than Windows 10. And then with recall coming out, if you don't know what recall is, it takes a snapshot of your screen every 5 seconds. There's just things that Microsoft is doing behind the scenes that my wife has some concerns about. And so she's agreed to go ahead and try Linux. Now, this is a great time to try Linux. The desktop has become more and more relevant, easier to use, more capabilities, and so and she doesn't hate Windows or anything like that, but and this isn't a video where I made my wife install Linux. If that was the case, she would still be on Windows. She's not going to install it. She's going to let me do all that. I know there are some YouTubers on there, they actually have their wives install Linux, but that isn't the purpose of this. We just want her to get to use Linux and get off of Windows. But we face some challenges with certain applications, and so we're going to talk about the challenges that we were looking at for her moving to Linux and how we resolved those challenges. So let's get started. Okay, so right now I'm on my wife's laptop. Now, I want to just talk about some of the challenges that we're going to face in moving her to Linux. Okay, so basically the challenges that we're going to face, we had to have a familiar interface, because in the Linux world, the GNOME interface is not necessarily as user-friendly as Windows if you're coming from Windows. So we had to make sure it was more of a Windows-like interface that she wasn't going to have to really, that she would feel comfortable using. The second one is that she does use a touch screen, and she uses her touchpad on her laptop all the time, so she wants all the pinch and zooming to work, all the scrolling, whether it's on the screen or on the laptop itself. The other one is Microsoft Office Compatibility, and I'm going to get into each one of these in detail as we go along. Obviously a PDF reader and editor, and then she needs to do screen capturing, she needs to do screen recording, and minor video editing. Now, the video editing that she does is not very often, maybe once a month, and we'll go over that as well. She does use QuickBooks, and that QuickBooks is really kind of one of our bigger challenges with this, is how does she still do QuickBooks, and so how we work that out. And I'll talk more about the QuickBook option when we get to that. So let's first tackle the interface. So the familiar interface, I wanted something that was as close of an interface to Windows as possible. And in Linux, there's a lot of different distros, a lot of different GUI interfaces to Linux. My favorite one obviously is Linux Mint. I like Linux Mint, Cinnamon, and I'll explain later on in the presentation why we didn't go with Cinnamon. I did it first, but then we switched to KDE Neon. And those of you that are Linux people, you'll notice that this is KDE Plasma, and I installed the KDE Neon version of it, but it operates very much similar to Windows, so on and so forth. Very smooth operating system interface. And so it was going to be between this one and Linux Mint Cinnamon. The GNOME interface is just not familiar enough to use that, and I'm not really a fan of the GNOME interface either. And so this was just going to be a lot easier for my wife to transition to either Linux Mint Cinnamon or KDE Neon. So so that's where we landed, was KDE Neon. I always found that KDE Neon, out of the box, everything works on a touch screen, where some of the others, the touchscreen isn't activated. And I always have a little bit of time figuring out how to activate the touchscreen in some of those other Plasma distros. So I'm using KDE Neon, and of course she doesn't have any problem with this interface at all. So that's basically, we want to make sure all the pinching, all the zooming works. The only thing that doesn't work, and it's on the touchpad, and I know that this can be resolved, I just haven't resolved it yet, is Google Chrome, and it could be anything that's a Google Chrome based or Chrome based. You can't do a pinch zoom on your touchpad. there are some files that you can edit to do that. I haven't figured that part out. That's not a big deal because you can still use the touch screen to zoom in and stuff like that. But Firefox, you can zoom in Firefox with the touch screen. You can, and don't get me wrong, Google Chrome, you can scroll, you can do all, you can scroll up and down, that kind of thing. You just can't do a pinch zoom for some reason on the touchpad with Google Chrome without modifying some Linux files. And so then Microsoft Office compatibility. So this is where we're going to get into things a little bit. I've already done a video on Microsoft compatibility software. Since then, I've actually added one more. Well, there was actually two that I left out, but one more of those that I found that I didn't know existed is one that I started using. Now, that's not the one that we're using on my wife's desktop or laptop, and this is the reason why. Is we're into real estate investing, and we look at multifamily apartments to buy, and one of the spreadsheets that we use for that, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute, is a very complicated spreadsheet. We did not write this spreadsheet. It was written by a group that we belong to, and it is full of 3D spreadsheets, tons of formulas, does all kinds of calculations, and every single free Microsoft compatible software out there will not 100% work with this spreadsheet because of all the formulas that's going on with it, except for one. And let me just show you really quick which one I'm talking about here. So WP Office is the closest thing that you'll get to a Microsoft Office suite. Now, WP Office is free, but they do have a paid version, like if you want to edit PDFs, and if you want full access to templates and stuff like that. But as far as the free version goes, it gives you all the functionality, and you're going to notice here, if I didn't tell you that this wasn't Excel, you'd probably think I was in Excel here. It's really close. Now, I don't know, some people stay away from this one because it is developed by a Chinese company. I don't know if there's anything nefarious about installing it, but I don't use WP Office, me personally, but because my wife has to evaluate these properties using this. In fact, let me just go here. This is a spreadsheet right here. This is just one tab that's in the spreadsheet, and there's just formulas going all over the place, and this spreadsheet goes clear over here. So there's all kinds of tables in here, and if we click on here, these are all the 3D spreadsheets that it's using to gather information as you put your information in on a property. So, and believe me, I tried every single one out there. There is a spreadsheet out there, and now I can't remember the name of it. It came the closest, the least amount of errors, and it might have even worked because the error that was there may not have, and I can't remember the name of it. I don't have it in front of me, so I'll leave that one in the description below. But WP Office, they say they're 100% compatible with Microsoft Office, because I'm going to tell you right now, LibreOffice is really close, but again, complicated spreadsheets like this one, no, it won't. It comes up with errors. And all the others that I tried came up with errors. So that's why we were using WP Office, is because of this spreadsheet. Now, this is the only thing that she uses WP Office for, because she actually does most of her documents and spreadsheets using Google Docs. If you're not a Linux person, let me just show you something. All Linux distros have a software manager. You can say a software store. Everything's free in here. Now, when I say free, WP Office is in here, and so some things might have, if you want, there's very little apps that you have to pay for. And again, WP Office is free unless you want to unlock some of their other features, like their templates. But if we type in WP Office or WPS here, it'll just come up, and it's right here, and it's really easy to install. You just click on it, install it. You don't go out to the web. You don't go search stuff. You download something. Most of the apps that you use are going to be in this Office for those that are watching this that aren't familiar with Linux. So the next thing is a PDF reader. Now, okay, so now let's move on to PDFs. Now, WP Office does come with a PDF reader, but it's very limited. That you can't do much with it unless you buy the subscription. But Linux comes with PDF readers, and one of the PDF readers is default in Plasma is this Ocular. And Ocular has a lot of editing tools that you can use here. Now I don't know if you can edit text in here, but I'll show you. She very rarely has to edit text in a PDF. She's mostly highlighting stuff. So if we hit this highlighter here, this is the kind of stuff that she's mostly doing, is she'll highlight some stuff. She may have to point to something or point something out, or she may have to do a signature, which you can do also here. You can do a signature here. So it has some basic features for a PDF reader, but if she needs to edit a PDF, which she doesn't hardly ever do, but if she ever needs to, she can open up this PDF reader with LibreOffice. Generally, she doesn't have to move pages around, but with LibreOffice, you can move these pages around if you want. So if I want, if I want to move this to the top, I can cut this and come up here, and then I can paste that in there. And I can highlight. I can change text in here if I want. So LibreOffice Draw gives you a little bit more flexibility with the PDF. But the Ocular one is the one that she's going to use the most, because she really doesn't move pages around and stuff like that. If she needs to, she can go into it. So basically, the Ocular viewer, which is a light editor, is fine. Works perfect for what she wants. So then let's just go ahead and right. So now let's move on to. And obviously the interface. Let me just minimize this. So the interface to KDE Neon is very window-like. Now I will say this much. I'm going to backtrack here for a minute. Let's go here to Compatibility, the familiar interface. I personally am a Linux Mint Cinnamon person, and one of the things I hadn't been able to figure out is how to get Linux Mint to do all the functions it needs to do with the touchscreen. Well, I finally figured out that when you're logging into Linux Mint, you can choose the Wayland option, and I didn't know that before. So when I did that, then most of the touchscreen stuff worked. But what I found out, and this is where KDE, I will give kudos to KDE Neon. Its interface is very clean, very clear, and its interface on a laptop is sharper than Linux Mint Cinnamon, which is kind of a bummer because I am a Cinnamon person. My personal desktop is Linux Mint Cinnamon, and I really wanted to try and get that to work, but it wasn't as clear as her Windows desktop, and it was really bugging her. And so I went ahead and installed KDE Neon, and KDE Neon was clear as a bell. She had no problem with it. I don't know why Linux Mint Cinnamon is like that. On my desktop, I don't know the clarity difference, but on a laptop, yeah, I will admit KDE Neon's a little sharper on the screen. Okay, so now really quick, let's get into screen capture. I mean, she just wanted to make sure she could capture her screen like she does in Windows, which is very easy in Linux. You just hit the print screen here. This is KDE Neon's interface to a screen capture. You can just save it now if you want the whole screen, or you can do a rectangular angle, and then you can just go in here and grab what screen you want, and then you can just hit save, and now that'll save that. So that now is saved, and we go here to pictures, and we have our images here. This is the one I just did. There it is right there under screenshots. So very, very easy to do a screenshot. Now, all right, so now let's go ahead and talk about screen recording. Now, screen recording, you can use that same application for screen recording, but I find that there's another one I kind of like using better, and that's this one here. In fact, let me close this and go back into it. When you first open it, it'll give you these options here, but you just go into record, and then you can assign keystrokes to start your recordings. So it's very easy. So what we'll do here is we're just going to go ahead. I've got a video lined up on YouTube from one from my channel, and if I hit Alt-1, then it will start recording. Now she wanted to make sure that it would record the voices, and not just do a video without voicing or the sound from what she was doing. Plus, it's going to record what I have, what I'm saying right now as well.
On my server over here.
So I'll just hit F1 or Alt-1 to stop the recording, and now we've stopped that recording, and you'll notice that it's stopped here.
I ripped everything to a
So now what we're going to do is now we can go to our file manager, go to videos, and there's our video that we just started. And
it will start recording now. So you want to make sure that it records.
So there it started recording everything. So that was easy to solve. Now, one of the things I'm going to talk about really quick with my wife, she, like many people, she has a million tabs open. Now, and I didn't put that on here. I wanted to make sure her laptop she really needs more than 32 gigs of RAM, but this laptop I tried putting a 32 gig stick and it wouldn't work. I mean, it says that it won't take that, but I do have a total of 32 gigs of RAM on this laptop. And the reason why is she always has a million tabs open. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you, because I am on her laptop. She was working on it. I haven't closed any of the things that she's been working on. I'm just on the second virtual desktop, so I'm not messing around with anything that she's doing. But let's go to the other desktop and look at her Google. Okay, this is her Google Chrome. You'll notice that she has a lot of tabs open here, and she may even have more than that. So she just loves to have a million tabs open. And don't get me wrong, I have tabs open too. Nothing like my wife though. Oh my gosh. So now I just had to make sure that we had 32 gigs of RAM. Now we're not using her original laptop. We're going to give that one to our son. I wanted a little bit beefier laptop than what she's using. It's not that Linux is going to run on there, and there's a reason why, and I'll talk about that here in a minute as we move along. I just want to get into the fact that she is a resource hog when it comes to Windows. In fact, her laptop crawls right now because of how many windows she has open with her browser. And if you don't know, browsers take up a lot of RAM. The more tabs you have open, the more it's going to slow down. And a friend of hers also was saying, hey, can you look at my laptop? Why is it so slow? She's the same way. She has 100 tabs open, and then she wants to run Zoom and has problems running Zoom. So, but I wanted to make sure that she could have all those tabs open on Linux and still run Zoom, because sometimes she does do Zoom, and I didn't put that in there. That is one of the challenges too, but obviously Zoom is on Linux. We do Zoom. She does Zoom a couple of times a week. I do one Zoom with her as well. And so Zoom is important. I should have put that down in here. So she has no problem using Zoom for her Zoom meetings. Some Zoom meetings she's joining, some she's actually presenting, or she's the main Zoom person. So I just want to make sure that she's going to have plenty of RAM, and we're gonna talk about the resources that this system is using as soon as we get done, because what I want to do is the video editor. I just went ahead and there's several Linux video editors. The one that this is OpenShot, and this one editor, it works fine because she only edits a video maybe once a month, and it really is, when she records something on the screen, if there's any dead space, she doesn't like dead spaces. If someone's talking and they take a minute to think, she'll delete that out so it can just be a continuous recording. So she's just really cutting out dead spaces. It's not that big. It's really minor video editing, and this video editor is great for that. So now let's talk about QuickBooks, because QuickBooks is the challenge here. So I knew that this was going to be the thing that was going to keep her from going to Linux, and so and I'm going to admit I use Linux obviously as my daily driver, but I have one program that is a Windows program that I am not willing to give up, because I've used it for years. It's paid for. I don't have a subscription to it. I own it, and that is Sony Vegas Pro. That's what I do all my video editing in. So I have to run once a week for my YouTube channel. I run a Windows in a VM so I can run my video editor. And yes, I am running my video editor in a VM. That isn't very, normally you can't do that, but VMware is really good at, for whatever reason, all the VMs I tried, VMware is the only one that I could edit videos in. Otherwise, my videos wasn't syncing up right when I would do playbacks and all that kind of stuff. So on this virtual desktop, we're running Windows right here in a VM. Okay, let's talk about the obvious. In order to run QuickBooks, I had to install Windows, and I chose to install Windows 11. It runs a little bit more efficiently, I think, than Windows 10 in a VM, but it's been a stripped-down version of Windows 11. 90% of the telemetry's gone. There's no recall. There's no Copilot. Almost everything's gone from this. It's just Windows so that she can use QuickBooks. This is a temporary solution until she switches over to GNU Cache. And again, my wife only goes into QuickBooks either once, twice a month. That's it. So it's not like she has to have Windows open up all the time. You know, if that was the case, if she had to use Windows every day, it wouldn't be worth it for her to go to Linux. But where she's only in this maybe once a month, it's not that big a deal for her to just launch Windows here, and you'll notice here that it's just fully Windows. Now, this is where the challenge comes in, is that she needs access to all the files that are on Linux. Well, once you're in this VM, how does she access those files? The only way that I know how to do that is to create a share. So I ended up creating a share. And let me just show you what I did here. All right, so what I want to show you is how in the world does my wife access the files that are on Linux in this Windows VM here. Now, so what I had to do is I had to create a share for that. Now this is the whole thing. My wife, I did not know this until I said, okay, well, what do we need to do to switch over to Linux? I found out that she does everything in the downloads directory. All of her folders, all of her files. The only reason why there's anything in here is I put a few things in here, and she is starting to maybe use this a little bit, but everything is in the downloads folder. I mean, so everything she downloads in here, she just feels like this is easier. So she creates all of her folders in here, and so what I did is I created this Windows folder here. And I went ahead, let's go into the properties of it, and I made it a share so that she could have access to that. And I did have to install the Samba client to do that. Or I can't even remember. I may have installed Samba so that we could share this. But the good thing is, once you do that, you can share this through the GUI and set it up. And you can create a login name and everything. So I went ahead and did that, and so now when she's in Windows, because this is the whole thing, she'll be using QuickBooks in Windows here, but when she does a backup of QuickBooks, it's going to go to the Linux desktop instead. So if we open up the file manager here, this H drive is that Windows drive. In fact, let me just open that up real quick here. That is this Windows directory right here that she has access to from Windows. So she'll back up to the QuickBooks backup folder. And she just started using this about 2 weeks ago. All right, so one of the reasons why I got my wife a different laptop, and then I bought it used off of eBay, is my son is going to college, so he's going to use my wife's old laptop. Now, there's nothing wrong with my wife's old laptop. It runs Windows 10 great. But I knew that I was going to be running a VM on her laptop, and so I wanted a little bit beefier one. So I think her other computer it's an i7, it's 4 cores, 8 threads. Where this one here, this one is an i5. Let's take a look at that really quick. It's an i5 1235. It's got 10 cores, and then it's got I can't remember how many efficiency cores, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. I don't remember the exact details on that, but I wanted something that when she was running Windows on here, it wasn't going to drag her down or anything like that. And so basically, and then I went ahead. Now this is one of the challenges that I ran into when I bought her a newer system, because she has an older HP, and that HP works fine with Linux, the touchscreen on it. But I have booted off a USB on her laptop, and all the touchscreen functions work. And we have other HP laptops that are older where the touchscreen works with KDE Neon. So I just, when I bought her the newer laptop, which I bought from eBay, the touchscreen would not work. I did not know that HP came out with a newer touchscreen monitor, and Linux does not have a driver for that touchscreen. So the touchscreen would not work, so I sold that one. I got a Dell. So that was my challenge, is that if you're thinking about doing this and you have a newer HP laptop, you're not, and it's a touch screen, you're not going to have touch screen functions until Linux and HP figure out the driver for the newer screens. So here I am running all this stuff, and I kept OpenShot open. We're running a whole bunch of stuff here. We're running Windows in this VM here, and so we're going to. We just have a lot of things open right now. We even have the recorder is still open. We have Firefox open here on the other desktop. We have all these things open, and whatever else she has open on this desktop, I'm not really sure. She does have some other things open. We have the spreadsheet open. Anyway, we've got quite a few things open. So let's take a look at the resources that this laptop is using right now. Now, it's going to be using a lot of RAM because of all the tabs she has open, but we're also running Windows, and we're running all the other applications that are open, File Manager, OpenShot, so on and so forth. And you'll see here that, and this is the reason why she needs more RAM, because 16 gigs of RAM was not enough for her. She always had her RAM maxed out when she had 16 gigs of RAM. So CPU is just kind of bouncing back and forth, whatever process things are going on there, so on and so forth. But that's really it in a nutshell. Now, so now this is her laptop. Now works great. All of the touchscreen stuff works great. The touchpad works, with the exception of pinching and zooming on a Google Chrome page. But again, she can do that on the screen. You know, that is what's really weird. Why does Linux allow you to pinch the Google Chrome on the screen, but not on the touchpad? I don't know. These are the quirky things sometimes with Linux, but she's very happy. She really didn't want to go to Windows 11. She doesn't like all of the she doesn't like all the spying that Microsoft is doing. Granted, I took a lot of that spying out of this Windows here. It's not like we couldn't do that, but she just didn't want to have to worry about Windows anymore. And so, and Linux is a little bit better on resources, so she could probably have more stuff open and not be hogging up so many resources. And we still have the ability here to, even with everything that's open here, we can run Zoom and have our Zoom conference. So anyway, this is just what I had to go through, some of the challenges that we had to get my wife on Linux. And so I hope that was helpful. This is TJ with TechMadeEZ. Have a great day. Thanks.
Now that was